fucking helmets in. I bring the bang, so what you gon' do? Stand there and just get shook out ya. So clean out your locker, I'm out to get ya. Cause I just popped ya. You can't take the pressure. You might as well quit cause you just can't last. Madden 2000, put your face in the grass.
Austin Seferian-Jenkins, the first touchdown of Jameis Winston's career.
And your pride in the dirt, so put on a skirt. If you come on the field and don't wanna get hurt, just bruise and beaten, all black and blue. And it's been like that since Madden 92.
Welcome back, everybody, to Buccaneer Blake Sports, and you know it's Wednesday, and we got to go over picks. So, you know what I do on Wednesdays as well. I pick up people that represent other teams because we talk about the Bucs. That's what I'm here for. But I got a guy on the line, good buddy of mine, good guy, New York Jets fan. Jets are doing pretty good this year, and just got to see. I'm interested to hear what he's got to say. He's got a lot of insight, and not a lot of people talk about the Bucs. I said his name is Mr. Marco, true Jets fan here, and I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy listening to what his point of views and stuff is. And you know, I always ask some curveball questions and all that. So, Mr. Marco, you there?
Of course I am. What's up, Blake?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing today?
Doing all right. Recovering from some flights, but you know how it is.
Yes, I do. So, this is an unusual conversation. The Jets are second place in the division. I mean, it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough because they're stuck behind an undefeated Patriots team. But the work that they're doing on the field definitely can't be undermined. You care to, elaborate on what you think about the season so far with them?
I mean, you said it completely right. We're in a division with arguably the best football team in the NFL right now, with the New England Patriots, undefeated. The Panthers and Broncos and Packers are also undefeated, but the Patriots are playing with this almost quiet rage after Deflategate issue. So, going into the Patriots-Jets game, I didn't really expect us to come out on top. Especially in Foxborough, but it's not bad being second place considering, the AFC East is a pretty talented division. We have Rex Ryan with the very talented Buffalo Bills, and you got the Miami Dolphins seem like they're starting to get their stuff together finally. So, you're going to take the small victories, and you're completely right, though. You can't take away what we've done on the field. We were 4-2, and, we've been performing extremely well. Our receivers have stepped the game up. The Jets are a traveling laughing stock at this point.
Oh. You said your GM is a laughing stock?
No, I said that the Jets are no longer a laughing stock. Our GM did a fantastic job over the offseason, grabbing big name signings like Brandon Marshall, Darrelle Revis. And, actually a few that flew under the radar that have been really crucial to helping our team develop over the season, like James Carpenter over from the Seahawks, who is their starting left guard, now he's on the Jets. He hasn't let one person come through for a sack yet this season.
Yeah, he was on 2 Super Bowl teams with the Seahawks as well. James Carpenter was
Absolutely.
I've been following James Carpenter since he's been at Alabama. That's where he came from. Played guard for the Crimson Tide. So you guys are starting to bring in players that are used to winning. That's good. A couple teams do that, bring in some veteran guys that can maybe bring a culture to the team that's not used to it, because definitely a culture change needs to be changed there. And speaking of cultural changes, what do you think about, now that Sheldon Richardson's back and Muhammad Wilkerson's on his final year in his contract, and you just picked up Leonard Williams? I don't know, it seems like something that would be beautiful to have all 3 of them, but do you think it's realistic? Do you think one of them should go to make salary cap moves for offense? Because definitely you guys need some offensive help going forward.
It's something that even I noticed, right out of the draft, we picked up Leonard Williams. It was a tough decision, and I agree with Mike McGannon in going with the most talented player available, because currently in the ratings, Leonard Williams holds the highest rating amongst NFL rookies, and he's very much, if you watch the film, he's a nightmare to block, and the kid's young. So, you can take that for what it's worth. But absolutely, it's a crowded backfield right now. I mean, we've got like you said, Richardson, Wilkerson, Williams, and Harrison, all four of them extremely talented defensive linemen, all four of them a nightmare to block. I personally will have to see and see if we can keep all that talent on one line. I know Sheldon Richardson, it comes down to the players as much as it comes down to just the money. Wilkerson very upset with how badly the Jets have treated him over the offseason, understandably so. He wants a big extension. He didn't get one. He got to watch all these guys get big numbers to walk in the door. Darrelle Revis, $70 million. We even gave Brandon Marshall a pay raise at the trade. We gave Ryan Fitzpatrick a pay raise. It was all these people getting big money, and then Wilkerson just sitting in the back patiently waiting for him to get his big bonus. So unless we franchise tag Wilkerson, I do see him leaving us, and honestly probably for the likes of the Patriots or Dolphins, someone to make us regret not signing him.
I said the Patriots do need some D lineman help, but the part that you have to understand, I know a lot of people think about players whine and cry about money things, because you remember Wilkerson, I don't know if you remember, he's out of Temple. He was defensive tackle from Temple. And hardcore,
real small school, real big player,
hardcore Muslim. He had to understand he's in his rookie season. He has a lot to lose at this point. By him getting hurt in this season, waiting to get a big contract could potentially hurt him from making some good earnings in the offseason. If at the end of this year, going into offseason, if he's coming, let's say a knee injury or something, some intricate injury that could hurt him. So I can understand why he would want an extension and want some money. I mean, he clearly wants to stay there. If you're asking for more money and an extension, he wants to stay. But you're right, I don't think it's going to happen. You got too many mouths to feed, and all of them can't play on the field at the same time.
Yeah, we'd have to switch our whole defensive scheme just to keep all four of them. We moved to a 4-3, but the Jets work better with more linebackers. It goes better with their coverage. But, I completely agree. I never thought Wilkerson is selfish for wanting a big contract. The NFL is a very uncertain place. I mean, look at people like with Adrian Peterson and tearing his ACL and then getting suspended for everything he got into. The Vikings very well could have cut him or cut some money, and or even Greg Hardy. Someone a very talented player just happens to be very bad with off-field issues. And because of that, he's not going to get paid well. And you have to look after yourself first and foremost. So I understand where Wilkerson's coming from in this point. And like you said, they've got a lot of mouths to feed on the Jets' defensive line. All of them very talented. All of them very young, too.
That's the part that sucks in that type of situation. You got a bunch of young players. Much like, let me use this for an example. If you have college football, you have underclassmen. So eventually, which means your seniors are going to have to move on. It's not like they get signed somewhere else. They move on, and the underclassmen become the upperclassmen. In the NFL, when you have the Jets, for this instant, Muhammad Wilkerson, as crazy as it sounds, probably only 26 or 27 years old, coming at the end of his contract, he's considered, I guess, an older guy because he's waiting for his contract. But they're all young, and you have no replenishment because they're all young. It's not like Wilkerson was a 30-plus guy, a 30-year-old guy, and he's getting replaced for a Leonard Williams. They're all young, and you're going to have to lose when it kind of hurts, and it is going to hurt, especially if he goes within a division and watch him succeed with another team and end up hurting you. Those always suck, but I wouldn't feel too bad. I mean, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't feel too bad if I lost Muhammad Wilkerson, because you guys actually do. You have Damian Williams, I believe his name is. They call him Snacks out there.
Damian Harrison, Snacks.
Yes, Harrison.
Big Cat Williams.
Yeah, and you do have depth there. So in a way, by losing Wilkerson, or maybe re-signing Wilkerson and maybe trading Sheldon Richardson in the offseason might be an option as well. But I wouldn't feel too bad if one of them left.
No, absolutely. You can't expect to keep that much talent within, on your roster. Especially, exactly like you said, especially young talent, because they can easily get a very big, lucrative contract with anybody, because they know young talent is, if anything, is just going to get better. I mean, sure, like I said, the NFL is it's not a certain place. You absolutely have the option, for things to go terribly wrong, get injured, so on and so forth. But at the same time, we're all willing to take that risk. The Jets signed Revis for 5 years.
Right.
We felt like it was a necessary precaution.
Right.
But with Leonard Williams, that actually kind of when we drafted Leonard Williams in the first round, that put perspective on the Wilkerson side, actually. Because a lot of people were seeing that as the Jets being like, we don't need you. We can replace you as well.
Yeah. So with the plethora of the players you have on your team, you got the younger players. You got younger players swapping out for younger players. So I wouldn't really feel too bad with if one of them left. You still got a future in there.
Absolutely.
So what do you think about the old offense?
Well, honestly, people always say that the offense is a struggle with the New York Jets, especially with all of our, we've been very defensive-minded for the past decade. To be honest, in the past decade, we had Rex Ryan, a very defensive coach. We have picked it, I think it was, I forgot how many first-round picks in the past 10 years have been defensive players. I think it was like all but Mark Sanchez, actually, were defensive players.
So, you can't be too much crazier than the Texans with the 7 first-round picks on the front 7. I don't know if you realize that.
Yeah, that's right.
The Texans front 7 were all first-round picks.
It's a similar situation with the Jets, except Damian Harrison next is actually an undrafted free agent. He was a huge, a much-needed free agent, undrafted free agent signing because Sean Ellis, I think, who is now playing for the New York Giants, was not really working out. He was actually a second-round pick. But, that's the beauty of the NFL. No matter how well you do in college, the next level is something completely different.
Right. That's exactly it. Playing with men now, you ain't playing with the little boys no more.
Exactly. It's something, I take, especially when it comes to the draft or building on your team, is you have to realize in the league, it's the people consider the best of the best. It's not, best of high school. It's the best of everybody who starts the field. And it's absolutely a completely different environment. But, with that being said, I did want to touch base on with the offense because I felt like the New York Jets offense is very underrated. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and act like the Jets are the next, New England Patriots in terms of offensive scoring. But the Jets, with Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker, have been extremely efficient at moving the ball. As someone who has spent many seasons watching the offense sputter and struggle, this is actually the smoothest I've seen it move in a while. Chris Ivory can move in between tackles. He can kick it into 5th gear and leave you all in the dust, or he can run you over and run right trying to tackle. And that's what I love to see in a running back, is a man who's not afraid to lower his shoulder and throw you off your feet.
Well, it's interesting. There's a reason why I kind of picked you for today's show. If you watched my last show, I had a buddy of mine, an ex-teammate of mine. He's a Bears fan, and he mourns the loss of Brandon Marshall. Now, relax, people. I don't mean mourn the loss of him dying. I mean mourn the loss of him leaving and going to the Jets.
His career with the Bears died.
Yeah, that's what died, his career with the Bears, exactly. And we were talking about Alshon Jeffries. He was in agreement with me that I believe Alshon Jeffries is a Robin and not a Batman, which I believed Eric Decker was that as well. He's a Robin. He's not a Batman. That's why you kind of saw last season he fell by the wayside and didn't really do much. And with that being said too, I'm not going to talk about Brandon Marshall for 2 weeks in a row, but any receiver that pairs with Brandon Marshall makes them a whole hell of a lot better. You don't believe me? Go look at everybody else's stats. I believe Brandon Marshall has had 1,000 yards receiving in every one of his years, except for his last year in Chicago, which he had 793 yards and I think eight touchdowns. And his rookie season, he had only 454 yards. Again, I don't know how I know these numbers. I just know them somehow, but.
We don't have those stats buried deep, especially ESPN pulling some out of the hat, man. I can't tell you some of the stats they come up with.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to check and see if I'm right. Go ahead, Marco. Continue about the Jets offense.
Honestly, you said it completely right the first time. That Brandon Marshall lets Eric Decker slide back into that number 2 role, and that is actually where I have loved to see. That's actually one of the things I actually extremely love about our offense. Eric Decker receiver being the number 2 spot. And when he came to the Jets last season, he was determined to prove that he's the one receiver and that everybody was wrong about him. And unfortunately, he proved all of us right. He was not a number 1 receiver. He's by no means a bad receiver. It's just, unfortunately, he's easier to cover than Brandon Marshall, so you don't really worry about Eric Decker. When you go into a game, you don't tell your defensive backs, we got to watch out, Eric Decker is their number 1 receiver. But now, with Brandon Marshall, it basically, what I really like about it, it causes a dilemma in the defense. Do you cover Brandon Marshall to make sure he doesn't get the big play, or do you cover both him and Eric Decker and hope not one of them can break their coverage, because odds are they're going to.
And then you got my main man coming out the slot, Jeremy Curley. I like that guy. I've always liked him.
Oh, I love Jeremy Curley. He's a little receiver. I love a good small receiver. You always count him out. He one of the very crucial play versus the Patriots. Got us in the end zone first. Unfortunately, it was at the end it was all for nothing in the end. But at the same time, the Jets and this is something else I want to talk about. The Jets and the Patriots was definitely a huge statement game on the season. And I feel like, although we lost the game, the Jets did make a good statement, and that was that they aren't pushovers.
That you ain't nobody's bitch.
Exactly. We don't lay down. We fought and clawed the Pats all the way through that game. And honestly, Tom Brady is the one who led the Patriots there. Bill Belichick did a fantastic job coaching. He shut down the Jets' run game. He knew if you could shut down Chris Ivory, you had, that the Jets would have to rely on Ryan Fitzpatrick. And, of course, Bill Belichick made the right gamble, and that is, because if you watch the game, the Patriots ran the ball, I think, 4 times. It was.
Well, he knew it wasn't happening.
And Tom Brady was 2 of the rushes on the game, and it was they literally ran with no running back in the backfield several times. They trusted their Patriots receivers and Tom Brady, and that's a perfectly fine thing to do. They basically shut down the run for the entire game. The Jets couldn't run the ball because they stacked the line, and the Patriots didn't run the ball because they knew they couldn't against our defensive line. Richardson and Wilkerson and Williams and Harrison are notorious. You cannot block them on the run. They know it's coming. And so Bill Belichick really did a great job coaching against the Jets. But I want to say, not only did the Jets play extremely well in the Patriots Stadium against arguably the best team in football, but we looked great. Ryan Fitzpatrick, the thing that was really coming down to it was they knew that the game was going to be Fitzpatrick versus Brady, and that's not even why we lost. Fitzpatrick didn't even throw a pick. He lost a fumble on our first possession, but football is all about adjusting, and the Jets didn't let we turned the ball over again after that. And Fitzpatrick was through I think 2 touchdown passes on the day, and he completed over 60% of his passes. It was a beautiful start for Fitzpatrick, and it showed that if anything, it made me feel a lot better about the quarterback situation. I was really afraid to see him get picked apart and just slowly fall apart, but didn't even throw an interception. That's pretty impressive.
Absolutely, it's pretty impressive. Oh, what I said earlier, I was close. It was 61 receptions, 721 yards, and 8 touchdowns his last year in Chicago. And his rookie season, it was 309 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I was pretty close.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember it being some 700 and some receiving yards. He was actually hurt a lot that season too, to be fair.
Yep, I said so.
Did you see what we got Brandon Marshall for?
Yeah, pennies. Because that kind of stuff.
Lunch money.
That kind of I'm gonna say yes and no. If you have the cap, then yes. I said, but those kind of deals happen with older players. Brandon Marshall, I believe, is 31 years old. Yeah, he was born in 1984. Yeah, I said when a team is taking another player's bulk of their cap or something like that, then you'll get deals like that. Those deals like that, we'll get like a 4th round pick for him, or maybe a younger player for older players, because the contracts, the stipulations in the contracts. That's why. But for y'all needed a receiver, and it's showing dividends for it. So yes, it was a good move. Like you said, your GM made a great move on that. I think it was a great move. I think he fits New York's attitude. He's a great receiver, and everything else is history. But I really enjoyed the Marshall signing. Honestly, a lot of the signings this offseason, I haven't. Remember, Brandon Marshall was a trade, I believe.
Yeah, Marshall was a trade. We traded Marshall for, I think it was a 6th or 5th round pick, something like that. And Fitzpatrick, we also gave I think it was a 7th or 6th round pick to the Texans. I mean, they gave us him dirt cheap. And I never thought I'd say this, but I feel like the Texans probably regret that one.
Yes, they do.
Case Keenum, who's starting now?
They said, it's funny that you bring that up because they just made a move. Excuse me 1 second while I'm rambling my brain. Brian Hoyer is the starter. They just cut Ryan Mallett, and they had just picked up from my place TJ Yates from UNC. You know, the only guy that's won a playoff game for him the past decade. But yes, I think they are hurting right now. Well, we don't know. The Brian Hoyer story has been told. I don't know. DeAndre Hopkins is going to get paid next season. I don't know what team he's going to be on. Maybe it'll be the Texans, but that dude's beasting right now. I think actually he leads the league in receiving yards.
He absolutely does. It's been amazing. We were all waiting for Dez. Well, Dez is hurt, but Calvin Johnson to break it off, or basically the guys we're used to seeing at the tippy top. But DeAndre Hopkins has definitely stepped it up this season, and if the Texans are smart, they'll definitely retain him because when your quarterback is just that bad, and he's still DeAndre Hopkins is making those kind of plays. Imagine if you had somebody under center that really can throw the ball, and DeAndre Hopkins could easily become one of the big targets in the league. But I agree too. It all really depends on Hopkins. After this nightmare season the Texans have been having, we'll see if he actually wants to stay in Houston or if he's willing to leave.
Or they tag him. I could talk about Houston all day. Actually, I think that's my next project. See if any of you guys can help me find a Texan fan, and I'll bring them on the show, and I want to talk about the Texans, because I've been to Houston this year, and because I could talk about a lot of things with the Houston Texans. I personally root for them. I root for the underdog teams. You guys know from my old broadcast, I grew up a Niner fan. I don't have a home team. If I had a home team, that's who I would be. I would not be a Buccaneer fan. Say that for the record. You remember I told you I was born in Anchorage, Alaska. I grew up watching the Niners, and I kind of found my way to the Buccaneers, and I live here in Tampa now. I'd have to say they passed on Teddy Bridgewater, and I'm not sure who else is in that draft. I'm going to have to look that up to pick up Jadeveon Clowney, which a lot of people didn't know who the guy was until the big hit on Michigan's running back. That bowl game out. It was actually out here in Tampa, as a matter of fact. The bowl game out here in Tampa. And he had just recorded his first sack, and this is his second season. So, what Marco said, you don't have you're having quarterback problems right now, and you didn't address the quarterback issue in that draft.
And honestly, Teddy Bridgewater is better than anybody they have starting, and Teddy Bridgewater is even super great. The Vikings have had quite a season with Teddy Bridgewater under center, and the Texans. I don't know if it's just their passing game. I mean, Arian Foster just tore his ACL again. And, the Texans are just limping at this point. And I hope next season they get it together because I also agree the Texans are our team that honestly just has us down on their luck. But I'm afraid I'm here to talk about the green and white. So let me say one thing, and that is Revis Island is definitely back. That has been probably my favorite part of the season. Is so good to see Darrelle Revis in green and white and just absolutely dominating at the corner position.
I'm happy to see him back there as well.
Yeah, it's been so great, to kind of almost put an end to the who's better, Darrelle Revis, Richard Sherman debate. It's still early in the season, but Darrelle Revis has definitely been extremely hard to throw against. I forgot his overall quarterback rating against him, but he's caught.
Well, right now, to me, they're even. Him and Richard Sherman, they both got Super Bowls.
Absolutely, they do. And when Revis left the Pats and joined the Jets, he basically signed off. Probably not going back to the Super Bowl in his lifetime, but I'll have to give him credit. It's good to have him back, and I'm definitely glad to see our, honestly, New York's one of our most proud players come back and start playing for us again. Actually, you also have had Revis for a season, so you know what it's like to have the Revis Island. But he was Treasure Island down there with the Bucs. Yeah,
it was. We were giving away gifts. We don't want to talk about that at bad times. I like to have amnesia. But Mr. Marco, I want to ask you a question now. We got a couple hot teams right now. Now, if you had to roll with a quarterback all season, Who would it be out of the undefeated teams? We're talking about Matt Ryan. No, they lost. Cam Newton or Tom Brady? Who would it be?
Oh, between Cam Newton and Tom Brady. Honestly, Cam Newton has extreme athletic ability, but that's an extremely cliche to say thing about to say about Cam Newton. So let me say what I do like about Cam. And he's been in the league, still fairly young, first overall pick, and the man is already at a level that I haven't seen. People as young as him playing, and that is he's very poised. He knows exactly what he's doing. He fits in that Carolina offense just so well. As he demonstrated against Seattle Seahawks, I was so happy to see the Carolina Panthers topple them at home.
As a matter of fact, when you say that, I think I'm going to look for the reaction. I cannot remember who it was, Mike Mayock or whoever it was. If it's Mike Mayock or who's the one I always hate? I think it's Mike Mayock. I love to take shots at him. Because I remember the second they drafted Cam Newton. Malik Kifer, yes. I remember the second they drafted Cam Newton. I mean, the second. He said he is going to be a bust. It was his exact words. And I'll make him eat crow.
Yeah.
I'll make him eat crow if I can find that video, because I'll post it on here. I will go out of the way to find that one. But Marco, we're going to go into our picks now. We kind of, ramble on. I could talk all day about football. I'm sorry to cut you off. I appreciate all the good input you put in. So
absolutely.
We got Miami and New England. When I say the second team is at home. Who do you got out of Miami and New England?
Miami's in New England. Miami has definitely put up their dukes against the Patriots in these last couple of years. I remember them beating them in the first game of the whole season. Just absolutely dominating Tom Brady. It'll be interesting. This will really be a test for their new head coach. I'm going to go out here and say the Patriots still got it. They're probably going to ascend to 7-0. I mean, they did just come off a game against a very physical Jets defense. They won the game, but it was by the skin of their teeth, and they got hit and blitzed. And Brady, all of them got pretty exhausted after that win. So we'll see how well they've recovered, as opposed to the Dolphins who just put it into cruise control against the Texans.
So what you?
Honestly, I'm gonna go out and pick Tom Brady. I love Ryan Tannehill. I love what the Dolphins are. They're starting to get it together. It's starting to look like it might work for them. But I feel as though Tom Brady and the Patriots are just too. They're on a much higher level than the Dolphins are right now.
Detroit, Kansas City. Who you got?
I got Kansas City all the way. I don't even have to tell you how bad Detroit's been this season.
Tampa Bay and Atlanta.
If it's in Atlanta, I love you, Blake, but I'm going to have to go Atlanta. They're in Atlanta. That offense.
That's fine with me. That's fine with me. Pick who you think's going to win. It's not going to hurt my feelings. San Diego and Baltimore. Who you got?
Oh, wow, two very mediocre teams of this season. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to go Baltimore. I think they're finally going to get that win they need. It's been a rough start for them. They've lost all their games by only 7 points. So I see them finally getting the win over San Diego, who got creamed by the Raiders this Sunday.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Minnesota-Chicago, division rivalry game.
It's always interesting. You can never completely accurately call a division rivalry, but the Vikings have put up quite the fight this season. They definitely are in it to win it. I'm going to say the Vikings.
All right, Arizona and Cleveland.
Arizona. Oh, good Lord.
Tennessee and Houston.
Oh, man. Are they fighting over who's going to be the worst team in the NFL?
Pretty much, yes.
I say Tennessee. Mariota is better than any quarterback that Houston has probably played in a while, and that's pretty sad.
Yeah, Mariota played pretty well last week, resting his knee on the bench. New York Giants and New Orleans.
I'm going to have to say, God, this is another one of those blurred areas. I'm going to say Giants. Honestly, the Giants
right now.
The Giants always somehow pull it out of their hat, and I think, I believe the Saints are on the upward swing. I don't see the Saints I don't think they've solved their defensive problems anywhere near as much as they think they have.
Nope. Cincinnati-Pittsburgh rivalry game.
I'm gonna go Cincy. I don't see. I hate to say this. I see the Cincinnati Bengals choking in the playoffs. They never seem to get it together, no matter how well they do. But the Bengals have been playing with just pure passion this regular season. I'd like to see them go, make it pretty far in the playoffs.
Regular season champ, playoff chumps. San Francisco 49ers, St. Louis Rams.
Oh, man, another one for the worst in the league. I'm going to go Rams. You know, the Rams are really good at beating teams that are better than them, but the 49ers are just too bad to not win.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more going on behind the scenes in San Francisco than people are playing out to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
there's got to be some locker room issues.
I think it'll come to light when the season's out, season's done, and some people are excommunicated from the team, and I think they'll talk more about what's been going on.
Exactly. Wait till this offseason, and you'll hear the truth.
Should I ask this question? New York Jets and Oakland Raiders.
You know, and I hate to sound biased, but the Jets haven't lost to the Raiders in a very, very long time. And honestly, the Raiders have currently the lowest ranked pass defense in the league, even with Charles Woodson. And the Jets currently have the best pass defense in the league. I like Amari Cooper. I like Derek Carr. I like what the Raiders got going for them. I just don't see them getting past the Darrelle Revis and your Richardson Wilkerson on defensive line, or Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker, who are big-bodied receivers. That's already hard enough to cover. And let alone that if you have the worst secondary in football, it's going to be extremely hard to cover the Jets. And let's hopefully have a healthy Ivory return. And if so, I think their Jets offense would be set enough to at least cruise right past the Raiders.
Amari Cooper versus Darrelle Revis should be interesting too. Seattle versus Dallas, who you got?
If Tony Romo and Dez were there, I'd say Dallas got this in the bag, but Seattle's got an easy win, I think. The injured Cowboys aren't much to play.
Yeah, they're more like cowgirls. Green Bay and Denver, 2-1.
2 6-0 teams. I'm going to go, honestly, the Denver is a team that is not as good as their record. I don't know how they managed to land at 6-0.
Defense?
They got a strong defensive front. I've never seen a Broncos defense that good, honestly. But I'm going to go out and say that I still have more faith in Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. There's something about that Packers team that you just cannot beat them.
True, they got a lot of continuity. Indianapolis and Carolina on Monday night. Carolina's at home.
Jeez, man. I wish I could say the Colts will put up a good game, but I say, I'm going to go ahead and pick the favorite here, Carolina. I really see a 7-0 coming up. They've been absolutely... They've proved themselves as a worth this year. A lot of people were talking smack and saying that, the Panthers, just winning easy games is not much, but going to Seattle and beating them at home with a fourth-quarter touchdown drive is pretty impressive.
Yeah, they kind of silenced that crowd. They're just waiting for the next thing to say. They're just waiting for them to lose to criticize them.
Exactly, and then the doubters will come right back out.
Yeah, they're waiting in the shadows. They're waiting in the shadows. Granted, they're my division rival, but like I said, first and foremost, I'm a football fan, so I got to respect what Cam Newton and them is doing. And then for a guy who
it's the same for me and the Patriots. I can't sit here and act like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick aren't ruling the NFL with how they've been playing. It's just how it goes.
Oh, whoa! I don't know about all that. The people out here know how I feel about the Patriots and that whole cheating stuff. But
Cheatriots.
Yeah, but thanks, Marco, for all your input. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and coming on here and blessing us with your Jets knowledge.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you having me on the show, and I'll be happy to come back on anytime. Anytime you need the Jets knowledge, I'm there for you.
All right, appreciate it, buddy. You have a good night.
You too, Blake. Thank you.
That boy was long-winded, wasn't he? Well, I ain't going to make this too much longer. We're just going to wrap it up with what we always do. You master everything you do. What you do with it's up to you. Y'all have a good night.
Yeah. Riding with Skeet, Mellow, and Flacco. Ain't got no beef, but we got cheese and lettuce like a taco. What you talking about? I got my city on lock, ho, and I always keep the peace. I never gotta keep that Glock, bro. Tampa Bay Buccaneer, check the red and pewter. Yeah, the girls with you are mighty fine, the ones with me are cuter. Swagger to the max, mind faster than computers. See, we get the signal clear, the flashing lights can never fool us. Call me Young Hammy, I'm about to go ham. When it comes to Tampa, I'm the definition of the man. Always let me speak my mind, but never listen to my plans. Sometimes it made me doubt I'll never miss a step again. Confidence is great, but humility is greater. Being humble is what lets me show civility to haters. It lets